a quick peek at how our bog filtration's doing. As far as the tank itself, plants are looking good in the 125 Malawi River. The plants on the top are looking really good. Pothos really growing. Let's check down in the sump. Yeah, lots of growth there, growth there. Yeah, that's probably not good. I think if the plant grows into the light bulb and then gets burned and bends in half, that's probably not good. I should probably raise that up. I think I'll get care of that right now. So I gotta show the 600 Asian jungle aquarium one quick time before we get into Predator Bay Rescape. Oh, loving the changes back there. And check this out. The Vallisneria is growing up. Getting big and tall, that's cool. It's starting to kick off everywhere. It took it a little bit to kick in, but we're gonna get that effect of these tall plants all throughout the middle and the back there. It's gonna be interesting. There we go. That's better. Okay, you might be thinking, didn't he say the next video was going to be the Predator Bay Rescape? Well, you might be thinking that because I did say it, but then life got in the way, and you can see I've started on it back there, and started on it here, and started on a DIY build. Well, so like I said, busy week and wasn't able to get done everything I wanted to get done, so we can do things a little out of order. Don't want to rush the rescape of the Predator Bay. It's a monster job. These big tanks, you know, when you do anything to them, it's big. It takes a lot of time. And the DIY build, that's tricky because it's a different kind of video. It's not a vlog style video so much as I want it to be instructional and informative. You know, it's, hey, here's how you build this aquarium. Here's how much these things cost. Here's things I've learned along the way. You know, don't make mistakes I made, that kind of thing. Or here's alternatives. You can do it this way or this way or this way. It just depends on what works best for you, what your kind of end goal is. So that kind of video just takes longer. I don't want to rush it, so it makes the most sense just to go ahead and move the Malawi River Aquarium video up, and here it is right now. So I thought it'd be a good time to come back to the 125 gallon Malawi River Aquarium and take a look at how I'm keeping African cichlids and Turkana jewel cichlids along with Synononus catfish in a heavily planted 125 gallon aquarium, as well as some dolphin cichlids, some larger species of African cichlid. And normally in the typical aquarium, there's a lot of no-nos here. 17 African cichlids and 125 different species, usually a mix for problems, but we're using a technique here called line of sight, or more importantly, lack of line of sight. So we have a consistent aquascape. So it's essentially one big zone that all the fish share, but it's full of obviously lots and lots of sight breaks, but it's also full of crevices and caves and overhangs and areas of dense planting. So there's just no way for any one fish to visually sight a large area and try to control it. There's always fish coming in and out of that more dominant fish's view, and it really prevents them from ever establishing that that, hey, I can see 6 feet down the tank, this is my territory, and the rest of you guys are intruding on it. So what we have here is constantly fish coming in and out of their view, and again, different species that you wouldn't normally think you would keep together like this, but I think it obviously I know it has a lot to do with how they're being kept. So I know a lot of people go the technique of they don't want to create any territory at all, and they're going to put a ton of cichlids in there, and that is a way to do it because it's the same premise. There's too many cichlids, there's no territory, or there's just one big territory, and no one cichlid can just dominate that territory. Personally though, I don't like the way that type of tank looks. It's not very attractive to me. So it looks like a crowded room, a crowded empty room. So I didn't want to go that route, and I also didn't want to go the route of just tons and tons of material everywhere. Like, so basically kind of artificially putting a crowded aquarium full of sight breaks that didn't have any rhyme or reason. I've seen it done with like pillars or just stacks and stacks of rocks and things like that is the most common. So I wanted to do something different. I wanted to have a natural looking aquarium, but I also wanted to work off that premise of not having a territory that any one fish could dominate, and also having lots and lots of sight breaks. So what I came up with was this, which is the planted Malawi River Aquarium, which is a lot of Anubias, Java fern. It's mostly Anubias, you know, some Java fern, branches and rocks to create a habitat which is, you know, devoid of a single territory and provides tons of sight breaks, but is natural looking. Now, obviously, is there a river or a tributary somewhere that connects to the Malawi, Lake Malawi? I'm not sure. There probably, well, there definitely are, but does it look like this? I'm not sure, you know. But in my, you know, in my idea, this is what a cool African tributary would look like that would feed into Lake Malawi, and so that's what we came up with here. But I think the key thing is, now that this tank has been running a significant amount of time, I think we're probably 8 months since the reset, you just notice there's just no aggression with anybody. It's really pretty amazing. The fish are very, very chill. If they ever had a time where they were trying to establish territory, one dominant guy, and if it is anyone, it would be this guy, but he doesn't actually really do anything. He just seems to be the most dominant, but like what you saw right there, just that tiny little move towards a fish, that's all that ever happens. But if anyone ever has tried to establish it, they've long since given up, because it's been this sort of tranquil, peaceful demeanor type tank for quite some time. And this is the tank that's closest to my desk, so I see it the closest and the most, and this is it. This is what the tank looks like pretty much all the time. So I'll tell you what, let's throw some food in there, some sinking food, and see if we can't get those Synodontis catfish to come out of their caves. Okay, we'll put a big helping of pellets in there, and of course the cichlids, they're going to have their share as well. But I believe it should bring the Synodontis catfish out of their caves, so they'll want to partake on these pellets as well. I think I saw some of them back there in the main cave, but I don't know if they came out yet. Well, the Africans are getting good feeding, and I know some of the pellets went through to the back and the Synodontis were grabbing them, but I was kind of hoping they would come out to the front, because they have grown a ton since they were originally put in here, and looking beautiful. So I just wanted to show them off, but I guess they are too well fed and they don't feel the need to have to come out here on cue. They're good to go with their normal feedings and everything. Now there is one there in the cave, but I don't know how well he'll come up on camera. He's kind of, again, a lot of the pellets sort of blew back there, so they didn't really have to come out of their hidey holes to get it. But so here's kind of actually the group here. You can see the Turkana, the Dolphin, and the Mbuna all together, and just as peaceful as can be. Now I know that you know, things will change over time. None of these fish are full grown yet, so we'll see how it shakes out. But certainly the initial behavior of these fish is a good indicator that the technique here is working, that you can have a planted African cichlid aquarium where they don't eat your plants, and you can have a reasonable community of African cichlids together without it being a bloodbath and without having a dominant fish. And then quite honestly, you could just have it where the fish are peaceful like this. With the amount of, you know, areas they can go to retreat, no fish again tries to dominate, but no fish feels intimidated either, and you sort of see that that gentle demeanor of all the fish. And that's important to me too, because even if you have a tank where the fish aren't getting killed or anything, but if they're just constantly being picked at all the time, then that's kind of annoying too, just watching fish pick at each other, you know, or spar all the time. You know, that's not a very pleasant tank either, so not something that I'd want to set up, even if fish weren't getting hurt. Just not attractive to look at. Now another thing here too is that there's a lot of Plecostomus in here, and there's a lot of plants, as well as there's been pothos added to the top of the aquarium, and peace lilies to the bog sump. So the other thing that's been happening here is that nice, good algae control. So between the plecos munching away on all the rocks and the wood and the plants, and all the plants fighting with the algae for nutrients and beating out the algae, again, along with dosing for me. So we all know that algae only it's very simple organism, single cell, it only needs one type of food item to thrive, you know, so it can have, you know, either nitrate or phosphate, you know, or ammonia or whatever, and it's going to be able to grow. Whereas we know the plants are more complex and they need more nutrients to be able to grow and beat out that algae. So it's always important, even when you have algae, that you want to dose the plants so that they, assuming you have plants, live plants, so they can outcompete the algae, so they have everything they need. So that's what's been happening here, because there was a time early on after the reset, because I put new substrate over old substrate, so there's a lot of die-off in there, and that fueled a lot of algae. But we were able to beat it out with natural techniques. This tank's only had 2 water changes in 8 months, and it's all been done with plants, proper lighting, and proper dosing. So basically the nature way, nature's been able to you know, get an equilibrium. I should say too, also the catfish and the plecostomus, you know, doing their work, you know, cleaning up any excess food so they don't break down, and cleaning off algae off the rocks. So you know, with the balance of fish and plants and light and dosing, you can end up with a tank that is, you know, while not completely devoid of algae, I think a happy medium. You know, algae is a naturally occurring thing. It is certainly not a bad thing. It's something nature uses to equalize when there's excess of something. Algae comes in and consumes it, and then algae itself is food for other things. So it is a good balance, but as far as aesthetics, it doesn't look good when the tank is completely covered in algae. So for me, for a nature style aquarium, which I keep, where I try to balance out everything in the aquarium, the fish, the plants, the filtration system and the lighting, and the dosing and the food, this is pretty good, especially for you know, less than a year in. Very happy with the status of this tank, and mostly happy with the fact that the whole planted African cichlid tank seems like it's going to work out. All right, so for the first 8 months, I'm very happy with the Malawi River Aquarium. It's settling in nicely. It's getting balanced out. The fish are doing great. So far, it's meeting the goal of a live plants, peaceful African cichlid aquarium. That's what I wanted. That's what I've got so far. I'm gonna do everything I can to keep it that way, and I'm looking forward to the tank maturing. Who knows, maybe a couple choice fish additions, but overall it's looking pretty good and the system's balancing out nicely. Stay tuned for that Predator Bay Rescape video. It is coming. It's a big one. It touches all the saltwater tanks, so it's definitely gonna be a bit of a mega video. That's why it's taking longer than expected, but hopefully be worth it, and it's coming soon. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys soon.